Greetings and welcome to Testlet. In this video, we'll be talking about nested if statements. Nested if statements are basically if statements within another set of if statements. For example, uh, the if statement, the if else statement that I've told you so far was that there is if, there's some condition inside, there's some set of statements, then there is elif, there's some other condition inside, there's another set of statements, and there is else. So if condition 1 or 2 are not satisfied, then the set of statements within else would be executed. So this is what an if elif else statement looks like. But let's say inside, if when the condition 1 is satisfied, let's say I have another set of conditions which need to be seen before we execute some statement. For example, uh, let's say here itself, I put another if with some condition 3, and then I execute a set of statements. And if condition 3 is not satisfied, then I execute another set of statements. So something of this kind, right? So in that case, if you see, this statement would be executed if both condition 1 as well as condition 3 are satisfied. While this statement will be executed if condition 1 is satisfied but condition 3 is not satisfied. Right? So things like this, where there's a set of if else statements within another set of if else statements. That type of if statements are known as if nested if statements. All right. So this kind of statements are necessary when you solve a certain type of problems, right? Okay. So now once we know what an if elif statement looks like, so it's always better to solve or to understand a particular Python or in general a particular programming syntax or programming logic using some example. So let's try to solve a particular problem. So this is kind of a math problem. So let's try to understand. So we have a function f of x, and this function is like this. It's mod x if x is less than 1, then it is x square if x is between 1 and 10, while it is 10x if x is greater than 10. So this is the set of function. This is the function that you have to build using Python. So if you see over here, we have a mod x. So mod x in Python, if you want to find the mod of something, then we use something called ABS, absolute. So absolute value of x, right? So absolute value of x is equivalent to mod x. But for now, for this example, we'll assume that there is no such function. We'll assume that there is no absolute. All right. So we'll use the definition of the mod function. So the definition of mod function is that mod x is equal to plus x if x is positive, while it is equal to minus x if x is negative. So we'll use this definition of the uh, mod function. All right. So now, based on this, let's try to understand what we are supposed to do. So what we need to do is we need to First of all, divide our entire domain of X from into these three parts. X being less than 1, X between 1 and 10, and X greater than 10. So we'll use if, elif, else. So this is the outside if, elif, else. All right. This would be the outside. All right. Then if you see within this if, within this, we have another set of statements where if x is greater than equal to 0, then it's going to be plus x. And if it is negative, x less than 0, then it is minus x. So we are going to use another set of if and else statements. And these are going to be inside. So this becomes a classic example of nested if statement. All right. So based on this logic, let's try to build our Python program. So first of all, we'll take input from the user for the value of x. The value of x can be a float value or an integer value. So that's why it's always better to ask for a float. Okay. Now we make the outside if by saying if condition 1, x is less than 1. Here we'll execute some statements. Then elif condition 2. Condition 2 is that 1 is less than equal to x, less than equal to 10, right? And then we'll execute another set of statements. And if none of these three conditions work, these two conditions work, then we'll execute this third set of statements. So this we have kind of made the outside loop. All right. Now we'll go ahead and write the statements within these conditions. So state 1, state 2, and state 3. So state 1, if you see, uh, in the statement 1, we are supposed to have uh, this. We need to write a function for mod of x. So we'll again have to use if else inside. So for that, we are going to write if over here, the condition is that x should be greater than equal to 0. And in that case, let's define a variable called y. So we'll say y is equal to plus x, or simply y is equal to x, right? So y is the f of x over here. And if x is not greater than equal to 0, that is, if x is less than 0, then in that case, y is equal to minus x, right? So this is basically mod x for x less than 1, okay? Then the statement 2 is simple. Y should be equal to x square. And statement 3 is also simple. Y should be equal to 10 times x. Right. So we have all of these three now. Right. So now we just have to print the output. So for printing the output, we'll say y is equal to and y. Right. So this is a very simple program. We have used the nested if statement where this set of if statements has been used within this if. All right. So we'll write this and we'll execute this. So let's say if my x is 100, so the output should be 1000. So let's say if I get that, and yes, I've got y is equal to 1000, right? So these kinds of problems are actually something that you can try with Python. Uh, Over here, the nested if statements can actually be avoided. If you see, uh, this set of, so over here, this was just to show you how to work with a nested if statements, but you can avoid that over here. So you can actually divide this entire domain into two separate domains, right? So what you can say is that x needs to be greater than equal to 0, while it needs to be less than 1 for f of x to be plus x, right? And it needs to be negative for f of x to be minus x, right? So it is equivalent to saying that x for x less than 1, f of x is mod x. So the problem can be reformed. It can be redefined as f of x is equal to uh, minus x for x less than 0, x for x between 0 and 1, x square for 1 less than equal to x less than equal to 10, and 10x for x greater than, right? That can actually be redefined and then solved. So at times, this is what we can do in Python and programming, that you can redefine your problem, and maybe you don't have to use a certain set of states, or maybe it can get simplified. Okay. So redefining the problem also helps. So let's uh, write the redefined problem. And for that, we just have to use four if statements. The first one, first condition, second condition, third condition, and fourth condition. So if elif, elif, and else. So we'll use that, and we'll say that if x is negative, so in that case, y is equal to x, sorry, y equals to minus x. Elif x is between 0 and 1. So y is x. Elif x is between 1 and 10. So y is x square. And finally, for any other case, y is 10 times x. And over here, or I'll just define a different variable z for the same, just to compare that both of them give the same answer. So print z equals to z. And if we run this, we'll enter x over here. Let's say my x is 2. So if my x is 2, it needs to be here. So it should give me 4. So it would give me 4 for both cases. And let's try with the some value less than 1. So let's say if I'm saying x is minus 5, so it should give me 5, and it gives me 5 for both cases, right? So this way we can redefine the problem, solve. Although there are certain cases where nested if statements are unavoidable. So it's always helpful to know these kinds of statements. And yeah, and also other programming languages might not offer the elif statement. So in that case, you will have to use if nested if statement. So it's always good to know this. And yeah, so based on this, we can try solve another tutorial. So I'll upload another tutorial video where I'll try to find the Nusselt number of a particular problem. And yeah, we'll use the nested if statement that. So that would actually give you an example of how we can try and apply these things in chemical engineering. That's all for this video. Thank you.